guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing the romance book tag. I will leave the original video down below so you can check that out. But other than that, let's get into it. This tag is going to be all about romance, romance books, romance booktubers, all of that kind of stuff. The first question is, what is the first romance you remember reading? And I distinctly remember that when I was a kid, I would say probably in middle school-ish, just starting middle school, my mom used to keep like the Harlequin Presents books in the back of her closet, and I would sneak them and read them. And I remember one where they're in a cabin in the snow and she gets pregnant, but I remember reading one scene where like he's rubbing her clit and my mind exploded. I felt like I was discovering a secret and I was like so embarrassed, and that's the first thing I remember. I don't exactly remember the title, but I'm gonna try to find one of the Harlequin Presents that has snow in a cabin, and I'll put it right here. But that's the first romance that I remember reading. The next question is the last romance that I read, and that is going to be Hate by Tate James. I am hesitant to say that this is a romance. It is a reverse harem and there is romance in it, but it's more of like a fan fiction, and it's just super fun and super messy, and I would really recommend it. Madison Kate, who is the main character, is really annoying, but there's just so much tension and messiness, and it's so self-aware, and it's just a fun ride, and I would really recommend checking it out. If you have KU, it's on KU. Next is the romance you are most likely to recommend to a newbie. I would probably say The Unhoneymooners, or like any book by Christina Lauren. I'm gonna say The Unhoneymooners specifically because that's really the only one that I've read by them that I like. They are a traditionally published romance duo, and they are extremely popular. They lean more towards like the lighthearted. They have themes in there that are like harder to read, but they're not like dark romances. So if you're new to the romance genre, I would recommend reading anything by them, but specifically The Unhoneymooners, because for some reason that one just hit different for me and I really loved it. It's like a enemies to lovers vacation romance, and the tension between them is like impeccable. So super recommend that one. Next up is the romance you are most likely to recommend to another romance reader, 100% Go Deep by Rosie Adams. That is like literal perfection. Rosie Adams is just the queen, and I want everyone to read it so I can talk to everybody about it because it's so good. I think about it on a daily basis, and I'm pretty sure I talk about it in every video because it's just so fantastic. An underrated romance you wish more people would read, I would probably say Haven by Rebecca Witherspoon. But really Rebecca Witherspoon in general. I think if you're deep into the romance community, then you probably have heard of Rebecca Witherspoon, specifically Raffi and Zenny, who I feel like they're her most popular. But this is her Beard and Bondage series, and the first one is a fantastic exploration of like grief and intimacy, and the main characters are both dealing with like traumas in their own way, and it's beautiful to see the way that they are like what each other needs, and it's a great book. Next up, an overrated romance you wish people would stop talking about. An auto by author Rosie Adams. She's perfection. An author you used to love that you've since abandoned. I would probably go with LJ Shin. Aside from the sketchiness of her actual person, her actual character, her books are just all the same. She was like the first adult romance that I read like as an adult that kind of got me into romance. And since then, all of her books are the same. They all feel the same. They all blend together. She's not the best writer, and I have no interest in supporting like her as a person. So I'm gonna go with LJ Shin. My favorite trope. So my favorite trope has changed as the year has gone on since I really started delving into adult romance heavy. I probably would have told you enemies to lovers, but I think at the moment my favorite is mutual pining. I love when an alpha male like loses their mind for their partner. I think it's one of my favorite. It makes me so soft, and it's just fantastic. I love seeing a hero that is just open and honest about his feelings and not afraid to show that, and not afraid to tell everyone that they love their partner and that they will do anything for them, and it's just love it. Best book with that favorite trope, and I would probably say The Kiss Quotient Michael in this is just gone for Stella. He is so into her. He thinks she's so beautiful and he just wants everything for her, and it's just absolutely amazing. Perfection. Just, I loved it so much. A book you didn't like even though it has your favorite trope. I would probably say The Kingmaker. I DNF'd this one this month, so it's like on the top of my mind, but the hero like is obsessed with the female main character. It just didn't work because the whole book itself didn't work. I felt like it was just too instant. And so that didn't work, but it had that element to it. And then my most hated trope is probably surprise pregnancy. There have been books where I've gotten 60-70% of the way in and I will stop reading the book when that shows up. A book you liked even though it has the trope you hate, probably Destiny's Surrender. This is my most recent historical romance read. It's a surprise pregnancy, but you know from the synopsis and from the beginning that she has the pregnancy, so it's not technically a surprise, but I don't particularly like pregnancy in general, but this one I enjoyed the book. So my problematic favorite, I think for this one I am going to go with Punk 57 by Penelope Douglas. A lot of people have issues with this. For one, it's considered a bully romance, which people just don't really jive with to begin with. But this was my first introduction into Penelope Douglas and I ate this up. There is some consent, non-consent in here, and so if you're like on shaky ground with that, I would just recommend going into this with caution. The female character like is giving consent without saying it, if that makes sense. So if you have the hard lines about like yes has to come out of their mouth, then this is not for you. But very sexy, very steamy, and I would say that Misha's behavior towards Ryan in this, some people would consider problematic. People consider bully romances in general problematic, but this is probably my problematic fave. So a book everyone else loved that has you scratching your head. That's gonna be The Deal by Elle Kennedy. This is an old hyped book, and I don't get why. It's boring as fuck. College, new age, new adult, sports thing, friends to lovers, boring. The next question is about people that you follow on Twitter. I don't have a Twitter, so I'm gonna skip that question. And a place or person you go for recommendations or reviews. There are two channels that I go to specifically for romance. I go to Samantha from Books with Samantha and Crystal from Crystal's Bookish Life. I will leave both of them down in the description if you want to go check them out. A book that has a character that reminds you of yourself. So this is kind of a cheat because I would say this is more like fiction than romance fiction, but I'm gonna go with Nina Hill from The Bookish Life of Nina Hill. She is the definition of an introvert that likes to have fun. While that's not necessarily me, I would love to join a book club and I would love to do all that, but a lot of the things that she's dealing with emotionally and the issues that she's dealing with here, I can really relate to, and I think she's the closest to someone that I would relate to in a romance that I have read, just because most romance heroines I don't really relate to. I think the one that I relate to the most is probably the girl, aside from this, is probably Girl from the Wallflower Wager by Tessa Dare, because she's like a wallflower and she loves animals. So it's gonna be between this and that one. Next up, a romance cover that you love. Do I need to say anything else? All right, a book you've reread more than twice. Best romance audiobook. So if I can't go with this, unfortunately I'm gonna have to go with Vicious by LJ Shin. This was, again, the first adult romance that I read in my adult life, and the audiobook narrator for Vicious is exceptional, and so is the male narrator for this, but whew, wow. All right, best romance / rom-com movie, Pride and Prejudice 2005. I will take no other opinions at this time, thank you. All right, favorite heroine, Jordan from Birthday Girl. She is so self-aware, she is so strong, independent, and she is so in touch with her sexuality and what she wants. She knows that she is empowered and sexual and she wants all of that, but she knows that she also only wants that with someone that she cares about. And I feel like that's so refreshing because we either get a prude or we get a character that's sleeping with everyone, and either one is fine. But I like that this is like a new and refreshing character, and she's young and she just feels like a genuine person, and I like how flawed and also how just great she is. His favorite hero. I'm gonna go with Pike from this, but also probably Raffi from Raffi by Rebecca Witherspoon. Pike is just, woo! And then Raffi is like the sweet little cinnamon roll guy, so both of them. And then the last question is your all-time favorite romance. No. So for this one, I'm not gonna go with like an actual favorite romance book. I just bent the cover and I'm so sad. I'm gonna go with like the romance, the relationship. Probably Jude and Cardan from The Cruel Prince, because they literally are the epitome, wow, of just loving who you're with, loving all of the parts of who you're with. And Tristan and Liz from The Air He Breathes, because they go through so much. And I wanted love for them and they got it, and it just, their relationship just makes my heart ache. And that's gonna be it for this tag. Read this book. Make sure you leave your comment down below on your thoughts on any of the books that I talked about in this, or what your answers to these questions would be. I would love to hear it. And other than that, I will catch you guys in my next video. Thanks so much for watching.